Okay, so we're now recording. So anyways, welcome everybody to this week's version or this month's version so far of Wednesdays at 1. My name is Kathy Albright and I'm with the Employment Sector Council as their new project coordinator, and I'm joined by my co-host and colleague Carol Stewart, who I'm sure that you are all aware of. Our Wednesdays at 1 series is supported by the City of London as a part of its efforts to drive community and economic recovery across our region by bringing us all together to learn, share, and connect with one another. We are planning lots of interesting topics and conversations for this fall, winter, and spring. So please continue to join us if you can. And as always, we love to hear your ideas around future sessions. We're putting together a whole list and we're always looking for additional ideas. So please let either Carol or I know. I'm going to, in just a minute, be putting my email in the chat so that you all have it. And we invite you again to introduce yourself in the chat if you can. And as I mentioned, this session is being recorded and we will be posting it on our website so that you can access it afterwards. Okay, so today we are very pleased to welcome our guests from the CNIB. We have Ryan Hooey, Tammy Brooks, and Roger Corey. So, and they all work for the Come to Work team, again at the CNIB. So Ryan is the program lead for the Come to Work team, and he has been for about the last 5 years. In this role, he's been able to put his past experience as a community counselor, an employment counselor, to good use as he helps clients to navigate through their employment search. And he is also a CNIB guide dog handler. Tammy is the CNIB's new program lead for Ontario East and Ontario North. She has joined the CNIB in June, so she's relatively new, and works directly with clients to develop and implement plans to meet each individual's employment needs and goals while focusing on job readiness skills. And then last but not least, there's Roger. Roger, again, is new, much like Tammy, and he joined the Come to Work team in January as their intern. So he coordinates and conducts orientation sessions in Ontario West and Ontario North. He's also involved in various research projects for the program, and currently he's reaching out to their talent pool members and promoting the simulator, which you're going to be finding out more information about today. So as I mentioned, this wonderful team of people will be sharing information about their new virtual reality interview simulator, which and how it helps your clients who are living with disabilities sharpen their interview skills. So you're invited at any point to put your questions in the chat, and we'll be sure that we have time at the end of the session to look at these all together. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Ryan. So go for it, Ryan.
Welcome, everybody. It's Ryan here. Thanks so much for having us. Me and the team here are really excited. We've had some extensive training and we've all had the experience to kind of at least see this kind of technology in action, and it's really, really cool. So in a nutshell, the Come to Work program at the CNIB is about 3, possibly 4 years old, and we have a focus on employment preparedness and we put a landscape of vision loss or vision impairment on it. So we talk a lot about disclosure, we talk a lot about those pieces, because it's not as simple for someone with a vision impairment to say, hey, let's go to the interview Friday and let's start work Monday. There's lots of other considerations in there. So we prepare our talent pool members, as we call them, or clients or participants to kind of navigate the world of work that way. So feel free to shout out any questions regarding the program. We can touch base offline. We are a national program, so that's kind of cool as we do things throughout all provinces. But I know Tammy and Roger won't mind me saying this, but they're local to London, and I'm actually in Windsor, but we do a regional kind of landscape. So that's our program, just in a nutshell. I mean, we could go on for hours and hours about that, but I know you guys are here to talk about the technology. This program has been going on, we call it the VREOP program, and it's actually kind of cool because it is throughout the province of Ontario. We have several different locations that have these virtual reality caves. And I really wish the video was going to work, because just to give you guys a little bit of, I guess, a mindset of what it might look like, you would be sitting in a room, maybe the size of a bedroom, and you'd have screens to your left, your right, and right in front of you. And then there's a projector on the ceiling. There's also a huge computer in there, and it's sort of, and there's a camera that faces out towards you. So it will gauge your body language. It will gauge your responses. It will look at what you're wearing. It will ask you questions, and you sort of interact with it really as you would any interview, right? And I really like this because although we're geared towards people with a vision loss or a vision impairment, you can literally use this for anybody. It doesn't matter disability. It doesn't matter if you're just a job seeker or anything. I think that the use is there, and it's the intended use is really great. So we're looking to have a lot of people come in and do this. But what I wanted to kind of reach out to you guys for is, because we have this in our community hub located at 171 Queens, the corner of Queens and Richmond, we're looking to have you guys come in and try it out, whether it's you guys, whether it's your clients, whether it's a little bit of both. We can kind of get in there, and as long as it works with everyone's schedule, we can kind of give you a tour. Our hub is a great space. It's a great community space, and we can also get you in to kind of try all of this, which is really cool. Last 2 weeks ago, I actually had the chance to go through and sort of do an interview there, and I kind of just made up the answers, but the feedback was really, really great. And that's what I think is kind of the way we wanted to do things, and the way that it should be done, because the feedback is really great, especially for someone like myself who is a person living with vision impairment. I don't really notice my body language. So for years, I'll be in like in-person board meetings, and I wear my emotions on my face. So if I didn't like something, everyone could tell Ryan didn't like something, because look at the look on his face. So that's kind of key when you're in an interview, that sort of thing. So this is a really great kind of service. We have this in Kingston, in Toronto, Sudbury, and I believe London. Roger, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think those are the locations. He would know more, as he's a little bit more involved in this program, but Roger has also had the opportunity to use this technology, and I wanted him to kind of share his experience and go through a little bit of what he's done with it, and how it kind of I guess the experience, how it went for him as we kind of progressed through this. So Roger, go ahead and kind of go for it.
Okay, great. And thank you, everyone. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. So as Ryan mentioned, we do have this set up at the London Hub. So for those of you that are familiar with, say, the downtown, it literally is across the street from Shoppers Drug Mart. So there's a lot of buildings and businesses, at where the CNIB is located. So just to kind of give you a bit of a ballpark of where it is. And the space is also currently being shared with the CNIB and our sister organization, which is Vision Loss Rehab. So using the VRAOP is what we call it. So it's an interview simulator. You're able to practice your skills of answering questions at an interview. And it really sets you up for a realistic situation, because you're not interviewing with somebody that you're familiar with, or you're not interviewing with, say, your job coach. Now, don't get me wrong, those are valuable ways to actually help somebody prepare, but you removed a little bit of that mystery, because if it's a job coach helping out their client, they're a little more relaxed and comfortable, because like it's that person that's been helping me. But when you go into an interview and meet up with a perfect stranger, there's a little bit more emotions and thoughts that go through a person's mind, in addition to trying to do well at answering all the questions. So going into the simulator, you're going in as close to meeting with a stranger as possible, even though it's an automated system that's prompting you questions. And there are 3 major scenarios that we have available to try out. The first is being interviewed at a coffee shop. The second is being interviewed by one person, but it's a panel of folks. So say one manager interviewing 3 people at the same time. And then the third one is the most common that you're all probably familiar with, is just a one-on-one interview. So the candidate will go through all three of those. There'll be, pauses in between. But when you think about it, okay, you're sitting at a coffee shop, but are you being interviewed to work at the coffee shop? No, you're actually doing an interview at a coffee shop because obviously, like, maybe it's a type of business that, doesn't have like bricks and mortar, or maybe the person in HR would just find it easier. And that has happened quite a bit. They're, hey, let's meet at Timmy's and we will do the interview. So in the simulator, you hear the ambiance of the music at the coffee shop. You hear folks, little light chatter, the clinking of the china and things like that. So if you're in that situation live, would those things distract you? Maybe. For some people it might. And how do you stay concentrated on the questions being posed to you without, distractions and people going, hey, I'd like a double, please. And you heard it off in the distance. So the simulator is going to try to mimic all that so you can sort of be prepared and be ready for that, real life situation. But more concretely, the questions that are posed to you would be things that you would probably, commonly find, such as, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell me more about your education. Why have you decided to work for this company? What are some of the skills that you have that will make you a great candidate? And the questions from each question to each question are different from each scenario. So you're not going to say, hey, I've just asked 5 questions, so I got my answers ready for the next scenario. So it kind of like, it mixes it up for you. When I actually did it, I'm like, all right, cool. Now I know what I'm going to say for that first question. During the second interview, I'm like, oh, they're asking me a different one. So I had to try to think fast on my feet. What I really liked about it is that it will actually create a transcript of the answers that you gave. So it's listening and it's going to provide you a summary of the answers that you gave. And this is going to be very helpful to see what kinds of answers or how you said it to the questions that were posed. Did you go off on a tangent? Did you give some concrete examples? It'll detect the tone of your voice. Was there joy in the voice? It'll also try to capture and highlight some of the impactful words that you might have used when you gave your answer. And then, as Ryan mentioned, it's going to measure your eye contact. It's also going to, tell you if you were slouching or if you were sitting straight up. And those are all areas that we all would benefit by getting some feedback on. Did anyone have any questions about the information that I just shared, or can I just pass it over to my colleague?
I have one question for you, Roger.
Sure.
If a person is interviewing for a specific type of position, such as, sales representative or an IT professional or something, can you preset the questions that it would ask so that it could include some technical questions as well?
That's a great question. I know that the system has availability to add questions to the database, but to like zero in for a specific profile, I'm not sure. But I know that we can add to the database, but they're very generic enough that they could apply to any role.
Yeah.
So when I did the second and third, I was thinking of a different profile because I was asked, tell me about your skills in managing people. So then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to put on my managerial hat here. And then I started to really embellish. Well, last summer, my targets were far exceeded by the team of 25 people that I led, and our company was able to expand and increase its profits, right? So you have to sort of think on the fly, but I can understand how being able to tailor the questions to a specific profile, that would be actually a really great thing that we can pass back to the developers to potentially consider.
And it's Ryan here. That's a really great point. So we do have a really great relationship with the developers, and that's actually who trained Roger, Tammy, and myself on it. And what the way it kind of works is, Roger did explain this, but there is a bank of questions, and it's random. So you might get the same question, but maybe in a different order. But a lot of them are your generic, tell me a little bit about yourself, or hey, I believe the one that I answer in the video that we were trying to show is, what will we remember most, or what do you want us to remember most about you? So it kind of gives that elaboration
Mhm.
on your skills. It's like, hey, what do you think of yourself? And I think that's important because a lot of the people that we do provide service to kind of lack that confidence, and they're like, hey, I don't really know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at, but I don't know what I'm good at. So it kind of gives them, hey, let's try that one again. But I do like the idea of gearing it towards a certain industry rather than, or a certain position
Mhm.
rather than just a generic. But there are 3 different types of interview settings, as Roger kind of stated too, so we can gear that towards the person too,
Mhm.
right? Because if you're, let's say it's an executive type position, or maybe a little bit not entry level, a little bit higher up than an entry level, you're probably not going to do it in a coffee shop, right? We can do that as an in office or even a group interview kind of thing. So that works well up there as well, for kind of tailoring it to each kind of individual sort of interview kind of situation.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Maybe I can pass things over to Tammy, and she can take over and tell you a little bit about this section, because there's some really other good practicalities of like outside usages. I mean, like outdoor usages that could be mimicked with the VRAOP. So if you wouldn't mind,
All right. Thank you, Roger. So yes, and if I can just add to the interview experience when we were there with the training for it, when the participant is in the panel style interview, there's actual capability for the technology to recognize if the participant interjected while the other interviewee was speaking. So we played around with it for a little bit, and you can actually hear the other person who's being interviewed say, "Pardon me, I was speaking," or something along those lines. So it does give the participant that experience of being interviewed alongside someone else, and noticing the cues of when it is their turn to speak. So we thought that that was pretty interesting, an interesting piece of the technology as well. So in terms of the outside usage, the technology also gives participants the opportunity to be in an environment where they can practice orientation and mobility skills. For example, crossing the street safely, standing in front of the subway and knowing when, to exit or on board. So those are some of the experiences that are also offered to participants. And we recognize that as the 3 of us work in the Come to Work program, our focus is mostly on the interview components of the technology, but we really understand the importance of the orientation and mobility piece, because our participants have to be able to get to and from their place of employment in a safe manner. So all of these things have to be considered when working with someone with a visual impairment in terms of their job readiness skills and their access to employment. And Ryan, I think it's over to you.
Ryan back again, and it's really cool because I know that in the big city, for Toronto, we have the TTC, so we have a location at the Yonge and St. Clair intersection, and there is a subway stop there. So what the developers have done is they've taken microphones and all kinds of crazy technology down there to get the sounds, and it's 3D sound. So you hear the train coming from the left and leaving on the right, or you hear the train coming from the right, that sort of thing. It's really, really cool to kind of get down in there and sort of see what you might experience when you're using a cane. The one at the Toronto hub, they actually have the goggles. We don't have this technology at London yet, but it is forthcoming very, very soon, where you can actually kind of walk around. So pretty much you're experiencing it, just the sound, but we've tailored it to London. So they went and did sort of like, if you ever see the Google car kind of driving around taking pictures, they sort of did that too. So you can have a very busy downtown, like at Richmond and Dundas, and you can have the traffic there, and you can hear actual traffic kind of things, traffic patterns from London, that sort of thing, people walking around. but you can also, they did I don't know the exact neighborhood, but they went through and did a quieter example in a quiet neighborhood. So you're leaving your home to get downtown to go to work, and you can experience all those. The really great thing is if this technology wasn't great enough. So if you're unable to get to one of our locations, or maybe you don't even live in that city, there is an app that you can download. It's actually a couple of apps, but it mimics the same thing. So through your iPhone, your smartphone, or your iPad, we're familiar mostly with the iOS. So your iPhones, your iPads, and your iPods, just because of the accessibility features with VoiceOver, they work really well, and you can do the interview the whole entire time. The only thing that works a little bit differently, and I guess it's pick your poison. So if you do it in person in the London Hub, you will get the option of having like an accessible Word document emailed to you that outlines, here's the interview questions, here's your answers, here's what we thought of them. On the app, you don't get that option, but what you do get is a transcript of the entire interview and some of the thoughts there. So you can choose your interview setting, you can choose what device you're using, that sort of thing, and go through and use the app. And we're finding great success with this outside of our kind of region. So people from all over Ontario, whether it's remote Sault Ste. Marie or down here in Windsor, that they can't really get to the hub, they're using the app and they're going through and doing that. I do know as well, there is some capability for the mobility kind of portion of this, but I don't know how that kind of works, because I mean, you need a lot more technology than just headphones in an iPad to kind of experience the orientation and mobility kind of thing, as opposed to the interview. You could be sitting on your couch and still doing the same thing, right, with just headphones and pointing the camera at you, because it does do a lot of the same things. So we're really happy to kind of share that. It's super easy to set up, and you know what we're looking for is many people to kind of take part in that, even if you're not a person with a vision impairment too. So it kind of gives, it's kind of another pick your poison if you choose, because, you know, people, it's very easy to just, oh, here's the app and you can do it at home, but we want you to get out and come to the hub and experience it, because it gives you that travel experience. It gives you a little bit more using public transit, using Wheels Transit, using anything like that to kind of come in and do something like that, right? So I guess it's really good, but also kind of can lead to some not so good things, right? Depending on how you're looking at it. But overall, the technology has shown really great things, and it's helped our talent pool members really work on some things, which is great. So I'm seeing some questions pop up in the chat here. Kathy, I was wondering if you could read them out, just because I'm having little problems cycling back and forth. So
Yeah,
now,
no problem.
perfect.
Okay, Lisa had a question. She'd like to know, how long does the interview process itself take?
It varies. So it's
sorry.
Ryan here. The coffee and chat interview is sort of like a 5-question, quick in, quick out kind of thing. Whereas if you get more in depth into the in-office one-on-one interview, there's a little bit more questions. There's a little bit longer. So you can kind of go anywhere from, and it depends on your answers, right? If you're going to talk a lot and you're a chatty Cathy kind of thing, you might be able to extend the interview a little bit. But when I did the coffee and chat, I did it in probably around 7 to 9 minutes, give or take. So we'll say 10 minutes, but I have noticed that some others have done the group where it's two simulated people and yourself in the interview, and that has taken upwards of like half an hour kind of thing. So I guess it just depends on what one you're looking for. And Roger, if you have, based on your experience, some answers for that one.
No, that's great. And what we do is we just typically ask folks to set aside an hour. It's not going to take more than an hour, because after you do the first interview scenario, then you'll have an opportunity to, you know, just talk with the person who's running it. And, you know, you have the file right there that you can kind of skim through. You will get a copy of it, like, emailed to you. But then it just needs a few minutes to sort of change gears and get it all set up for the next one. And the other neat thing too that I also like about the app is that it actually records your voice when you're giving the answers to a question. Sorry, I just heard another question come through. Yeah, we'll get to the referral. That's great. I was just going to say that, like, rather than just reading your words, you can actually hear your voice. And were you pausing? Did you use a lot of ums? did you project your voice in a very positive way? So you hear yourself in the way that you actually answer the question, which animates and brings to life a little bit more than what you wrote. So there's always value in audio, and there's always value in words. And I think the last person that just sent that chat message was asking about referrals and being able to use it. So maybe Ryan, if you want to address that.
Yeah, sure. So when it comes to wanting to use it, I can pop my email in the chat. You can reach out to us and we can kind of schedule it in. So again, I'm in Windsor, right? But I can kind of headman this and just to create less confusion among the team here at the Come to Work team. But we're looking to have people in, and if you're looking to do it in person, we can either have we have another colleague, Vera, who couldn't make it today. She's also located in London. Tammy or Roger, or any combination of them, as we kind of like to have a little bit a little more on site just in case, but we can kind of schedule in and kind of go from there. We'd love to kind of have you guys come in even as just an organization, even if you don't have participants that come in, just so you can see it in action, right, and see if it really is for your clients or not. So totally dependent on you. We're pretty open. The project is going to be ongoing. We do have deadlines to meet, but that's sort of, I don't want to say internal, but it's mostly for the people with air quotes vision impairment that we're going to be using this this technology. So we're gonna obviously kind of, unfortunately, I guess in your guys' case, give priority to those people that want to use it, but that's not to say that we won't be able to kind of schedule it in, because we're always looking to build partnerships in the London area.
Yeah, and I think what I can do, Ryan, is I can share your email address with your permission with the people who are on the call today. And then they can get in touch with you if they would like to make a referral, or if they would like to go and actually experience it. Would
Yeah,
that be the best
absolutely.
way?
Yep,
Okay.
that'd be great. And I know that there's going to be privacy concerns. You know, if you're referring participants and stuff, so we can actually book the appointment and we don't have to learn the person's name until they actually come in, if that works well for you, and kind of creates less red tape and less documentation, because we all know, working in this industry, how much privacy is a huge thing, right? So we don't want to kind of mess around with that.
Okay. Summer had a question. She would like to know what the name of the app is.
Yeah, I can take that question. Thank you for that excellent question. So it is available for Android or for iOS. So go to the Google Play to download it for Android, and then iOS, the App Store. However, since it's in beta version, it's not actually publicly available. We actually have to send you a download link because it is in beta version. So the developers are still working out kinks, and they're hearing back from users on ways that it can be improved. So that can also be something that we can send you. We do have a document that we send our participants, which describes the steps on how to, bring that onto your phone.
It's Ryan here again too, and just for those out there, when you hear beta version, it's not readily available. I know there are some concerns and red flags that pop up, but we have been ensured by the developers and by the engineer that there's no risk, like to downloading it. It's just they're just looking at making some changes before they release the final, I guess, product, the finished product. So that's sort of why it's only in beta at this point, because that was a huge concern. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going to download this on my phone and it's who knows what I'm getting. So, but they've assured us that they're nothing like that. They're not using spyware or anything crazy like that. That was a huge concern on my end.
And another really good selling point about the app is that it has really good technology, so that it can actually detect the positioning of your head and sort of predict if you're looking at the screen or not. So somebody that is blind or has partial vision, sometimes it's difficult to, look in the direction that you're supposed to be looking. So if you turn your head, let's say I'm turning to my right, it's going to adjust the audio in your earphones so as to kind of clue you in that you're looking off to the right over there, and the person is to your left. So it'll come through your left ear. That'll help you kind of turn your head back to where you should be. And that's the sort of thing that we do also, like when those of us that we can't see, we go by your voice, right? And so we're just sort of like focusing forward where we hear you, And then if you sway over to the right and you're not talking, then we don't know that you did that. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen in an interview unless the person thinks you're so boring they have to just get up and walk away, which we don't want to happen. But I think there's a lot of really neat things that they've incorporated into the experience to try to really try to make it as realistic as possible.
I know one of the things, actually, Lisa had said that she would love to be able to get a small group together to come down and see how it works. So say, Ryan, if there is one organization that may have 2 or 3 or 4 people who might be working with someone who might find that this simulator would be advantageous, and I can't see how it would help anybody. But if they wanted to come down, say, as a group of 2, 3, or 4 to see it, would that be possible?
It's Ryan. Yeah, absolutely. So we didn't get to run through it just because we hadn't had the training, but we had the personnel from Leeds, because they're upstairs. We're in the same building as them. They 4 or 5 of them actually came in and sort of just got a tour, but they didn't get to see it in action. So we're looking at doing the same thing again with them to kind of get them in and to see how it's going. And then also at our other locations, we have days called CNIB days where you can go and experience other things at other offices and sort of get some professional development. And this is one of the big things. So we do have some people come in and actually maybe they work with guide dogs and they're looking at, oh, we're going to use the VR project for something else, or they look at it, so, things like that. So group sessions are always welcome. The more the merrier. We're pretty open, right? Unless it's, completely crazy and off the wall. But I think that for the most part, no matter what ideas come out of this, no matter what partnerships and how you guys want to kind of go about it, I think we'd be kind of pretty open, right? And we do have some regular staff in London that we might be able to get you in sooner rather than later. We're just, looking at schedules because now we do share the hub with another organization, Vision Loss Rehabilitation, which is sort of an off-brand, not an off-brand, but they're more the healthcare section of things. So you got your ILS, your independent living skills, your orientation mobility, your low vision assessment, eye care, that sort of stuff. We're the foundation, or CNIB, as you will, we're the donation part, the charitable part. So we do share the hub with them. So they also are booking in clients, and just for privacy concerns, we have to kind of now book the rooms. So that would be where the waiting period would come up, depending on what's going on, that sort of thing, right? But for the most part, we should be able to get a group in, and absolutely, especially with I don't want to speak anything bad into the universe, but with COVID restrictions kind of going by the wayside, we should be able to, the room is pretty large. So I mean, if you wanted to get a group of 5 to maybe 7 people in there, as long as Roger and Tammy feel comfortable with that, we'll go by that. And or even myself, if I'm in there, we'll be able to kind of accommodate that way.
Yeah, I think obviously if any group would, or anybody or any group would want to go in, they would obviously run it by you and schedule something. I mean, that makes sense, right? Because I can see this being a fabulous tool for your clients and any of the other organizations who might be dealing with clients with disabilities. It's awesome.
It's really, really great. And you know what, this is just early days with this is still kind of new for us, and I can only see like if this is the technology now, I mean, what is it in a year? It's going to be even better. I think like just I think of cell phone usage, right? Like look at cell phones even 4 years ago compared to now. I mean, can you imagine using a cell phone 4 years ago? Like, no thanks. It's not fast enough. It's not this, it's not big enough. So I think that with this technology and the advances, it's just going to keep getting better and better, and there's going to be more things. And I think that it will help job seekers, not only in London, but just everywhere, right? Even like look at an app. Could you imagine like 4 years ago, hey, I can do a mock interview on an app through my iPad and get real-time feedback on what I need to kind of adjust and what I did really well. Because that's another thing that I like, is it doesn't just give you all the negatives, it does give you some positives. One thing it was telling me was, and I don't know if this is just because I was making up answers, but it's like in the question, tell me a little bit about yourself. It said, Ryan, you sounded really unsure when you were answering this question, which is great feedback. But I'm like, wait, I don't even know about myself. That's kind of interesting. But then I thought about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm kind of making this up as I go, so that makes sense. So I was like, that's probably quite true. And so the feedback is really valuable.
Does anybody else have any additional questions that they'd like to ask the team? No?
Even if you guys think of some, 6 p.m. tonight or whatever, feel free to reach out. I'm always available through email and we can touch base because I know I'm usually the person as soon as the meeting's over. Oh, I thought of this question now. So please, please feel free to reach out.
Awesome. And do you guys, I know that Roger, your introduction said that you're involved in promoting this. Do you have any like promotional material or general information that you share with people about it that you might be able to share with me and I could send it out to the participants?
Yes,
or at least to the attendees?
The scope of what I do in terms of promoting it is I'm responsible for reaching out to talent pool members that would benefit from it. And so I'm reaching out to them, and we do have, like, say, for example, that document which lists the instructions of how to download the app if people are interested in that. But if they're not, then we just send them a invitation letter, because most of the promotion is done, over the phone or over Zoom.
Which makes sense.
But there isn't it's not like any marketing material that we're like, handing out to businesses. Like, as a matter of fact, this is the first group that we're, connecting with to be able to have some community participation, like outside of our own client base.
Awesome. So if anybody, as Ryan said, if anybody has any additional questions or would like additional information, they can reach out to Ryan, and Ryan can let you guys know, and you guys can. Awesome. Okay. Well, if there are no more questions, I would like to thank Ryan and Tammy and Roger for coming and sharing actually information about this great tool and about the great app that hopefully, our clients, if we have any clients who would be able to use it, would definitely be able to benefit from. So if everybody's amenable, what I would like to do now, just to kind of wrap things up, is we do have a short poll of 2 questions just to kind of get some feedback on what you thought of today's session. So I'm going to launch that poll.
And it's Ryan here. Thanks, guys, so much for having us. We appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see you all in the hub very soon.
Thanks, Ryan. I know I'd like to try it.
And thank you, everyone, for the positive comments that have been put in the chat window. We really appreciate it.
So, and once you've had a chance to answer the poll, again, thank you very much for coming, and look for additional information coming out soon about additional Wednesdays at 1 sessions that are going to be coming up. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much, everyone.
So. Cool. So thank you guys very much for coming. We really appreciate it.
Wonderful. Thank you for having us, everyone. And have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Okay,
Thank you.
Awesome.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.